This is the way. Welcome back. Today we will be looking at the complete story of the Mandalorian and Grogu. As always, I've got my handy dandy notes down here, and I've compiled pretty much anything and everything you could need to know about the Mandalorian and Grogu, including a little bit of the book of Boba Fett. Today, we are going through the full story of Star Wars The Mandalorian, from Din Djarin's first bounty to Grogu becoming his son, and from the fall of Mandalore to the return of its people. This is a full spoiler recap of The Mandalorian Season 1 through 3, with the essential Din and Grogu chapters from the Book of Boba Fett included, because those episodes explain why Grogu is back with Mando at the beginning of Season 3. StarWars.com's own Season 3 preparation guide notes that the Mandalorian and Grogu are freshly reunited in the Book of Boba Fett before taking on the mysteries of Mandalore. At its core, The Mandalorian is not just a story about bounty hunting, armor, or Star Wars lore. It is a story about identity. Din Djarin begins as a man who believes the way is something fixed, hidden behind armor and rules. Grogu begins as a lost child, hunted because of the power inside him. Bo-Katan begins as a failed leader, carrying the weight of a broken civilization. And Moff Gideon represents the Empire's refusal to die, not only as a military force, but as an obsession with control, extraction, and stolen identity. The series asks one central question again and again. What makes someone Mandalorian? Is it blood? Is it armor? Is it the Darksaber? Is it a creed? Is it a planet? Or is it the choice to protect a foundling, stand with your people, and build something after everything has been destroyed? So let's walk through the full story from the beginning. Part 1, Season 1. The bounty becomes a foundling. When the Mandalorian begins, the Empire has fallen, but the galaxy has not healed. The Rebel Alliance has won its great victory, and the New Republic is trying to restore peace. But the Outer Rim is still dangerous, scattered, and unstable. In places far from the center of power, people survive through deals, violence, and reputation. That is where bounty hunters thrive. Din Djarin lives in that world. He is a Mandalorian bounty hunter, quiet and efficient, moving from job to job without revealing his face. His armor is not only protection, it is the center of his identity. He belongs to a hidden Mandalorian covert that follows a strict creed. Never remove your helmet in front of another living being. To Din, this rule is not just tradition, it is survival, faith, and belonging. He was once a child saved by Mandalorians during war. They took him in as a foundling and gave him a way to live after everything else was taken from him. Because of that, Din sees the creed as the thing that gave his life shape. But at the beginning, that life is emotionally closed. Din captures targets, he collects payments, he protects his covert, He does not ask too many questions, and he does not let himself become attached. That changes when he accepts a secret bounty from an Imperial client. The job is unusual from the start. The client is surrounded by remnants of the old empire, and the payment is valuable Beskar steel, sacred Mandalorian steel that was taken from Din's people. The mission is simple on paper: retrieve a mysterious asset and bring it back alive. At first, Din treats it like any other job, but when he reaches the target, he finds a child. This, at the time, was known as Baby Yoda, but this is Grogu, though Din does not know his name yet, of course. Grogu is small, vulnerable, and clearly wanted by dangerous people. Din's training tells him to finish the job. His professional code tells him the target is cargo. But everything about the situation feels wrong, because the series has already placed a child at the center of a cold transaction. That tension becomes even stronger when Grogu uses the Force to save Din from a mudhorn. And that's episode 2. Din does not understand the Force. He does not know Grogu's history, but he understands that the child is not ordinary, and more importantly, that the child chose to help him. So when Din delivers Grogu to the client and receives his reward, the victory feels hollow. He has new armor. He has completed the bounty. He has done what a bounty hunter is supposed to do. But the Beskar becomes a burden because it was earned by handing a child to the same kind of Imperial power that once destroyed so many lives. Din tries to move on, but he cannot. So he goes back. This is the true beginning of the story. Din breaks into the Imperial safe house, rescues Grogu, and turns against it. The Bounty Guild. He chooses the child over the contract. He chooses conscience over reputation. And in doing that, he breaks the old pattern of his life. From this point on, Grogu is no longer a bounty. He is a foundling. And whether Din understands it yet or not, he has become responsible for him. The cost of compassion. After rescuing Grogu, Din becomes a fugitive, and Din or Din Djarin is the Mandalorian. For just some immediate clarification, this matters because his act of mercy does not make life easier. It makes everything more dangerous. The Bounty Guild turns on him. Other hunters come after Grogu, and Din has to learn that protecting someone is very different than transporting cargo. At first, Din thinks in practical terms. He needs to hide Grogu somewhere safe. On Sorgan, he briefly finds what looks like that possibility. A quiet farming village, far from Imperial remnants and bounty hunters. For a moment, Din sees a life Grogu might have without running. But that illusion ends when another bounty hunter tracks them. This teaches Din an important lesson. Grogu cannot simply be left behind. The danger that follows him, because the people hunting him are not giving up. Din's responsibility is permanent. As Season 1 continues, Din's old world keeps closing around him. Former contacts, pull him into dangerous jobs. He joins a prison break with old mercenaries, only to be betrayed, and each mission reveals more about who Din used to be before Grogu. Grogu changes that. By protecting Grogu, Din becomes more than a bounty hunter. He becomes someone with a moral line he will not cross. That is why the season's conflict eventually returns to Navarro. Grief Karga, who once helped send hunters after Din, offers him a deal. If Din helps eliminate the Imperial client, the bounty on Grogu can be removed. Din accepts because he wants to end the threat, but the mission reveals that the client is only a smaller piece of something worse. The real enemy is Moff Gideon. And Grief Karga is the one that was supplying the Mandalorian Mando Din with his jobs early on as well. He's the first leadership in the Mandalorian that we see that Din goes to give back his tracking box. Moff Gideon in the Imperial Remnant. Moff Gideon changes the scale of the story. Until his arrival, the threat around Grogu has felt dangerous but scattered. Bounty hunters, mercenaries, local criminals, and old Imperial clients. Gideon reveals that the Empire's remnants are more organized than they appear. He knows Din's real name. He knows Mandalorian history. He knows Grogu is valuable. And he has the resources to surround Din, Grogu, and their allies with overwhelming force. Gideon represents one of the show's central ideas. The Empire may have fallen, but Imperial thinking has survived. The Empire still wants to control what it does not understand. It still sees living beings as tools. And Grogu, because of his force sensitivity, is not a child to Gideon. He is a resource. This makes Din's choice even more meaningful. Din sees Grogu as a foundling. Gideon sees him as material. That difference defines the moral conflict of the series. In the Season 1 finale, Din, Grogu, Cara Dune, Grief Karga, and IG-11 fight to escape Gideon's forces. Din is badly injured, and IG-11 sacrifices himself to save the others. This sacrifice matters because IG-11 began as a bounty droid sent to kill Grogu, but he ends up as a protector. Like Din, he is redefined by care. The armorer then gives Din his clearest mission. Grogu is a foundling. Din must reunite him with his own kind. Din does not yet know that means the Jedi, but he accepts the quest. Then Gideon survives the crash of his TIE fighter and cuts himself free with the Darksaber. The final image is important because it ties Din's personal story to Mandalore's larger history. The Darksaber is not just a weapon, it is a symbol of Mandalorian leadership, loss, and conflict. Gideon possessing it means the Empire has not only hunted Grogu, it has stolen something deeply connected to Din's people. Season N ends with Din no longer living for bounties. He has a child to protect. He has a mission, and the story has moved from survival to destiny. Part 2, Season 2, Searching for the Jedi. Season 2 begins with Din trying to find Grogu's people, but because Din does not understand the Jedi, he starts by searching for other Mandalorians. He believes they may know where to send him next. The search brings him back to Tatooine, where he meets Cobb Vanth, a marshal wearing Boba Fett's armor. Din wants the armor because to him, Mandalorian armor belongs to the Mandalorians. Cobb wears it as protection for his town, not as a claim to the creed. Their conflict has become a simple fight over ownership. Instead, it becomes a test of what Mandalorians are supposed to do. Din helps Cobb, the townspeople, and the Tusken Raiders defeat a great dragon. In return, Cobb gives up the armor. This episode matters because it starts expanding Din's understanding of legacy. Armor has meaning, but meaning is connected to what people do with it. Cobb used the armor to protect others. Din respects that, even while taking it back. The search continues and eventually Din meets Bo-Katan Kryze. This is one of the most important turning points in the series. Bo-Katan is Mandalorian, but she removes her helmet. Her allies remove theirs too. To Din, this seems impossible. He was raised to believe that removing the helmet means abandoning the way. But Bo-Katan treats Din's covert as a narrow sect, not the whole truth of Mandalorian identity. This shakes Din because it means the rules that shaped his entire life may not be universal. He does not abandon his beliefs immediately, but the crack has begun. Bo-Katan also gives him the next step to his quest. Find Ahsoka Tano. Grogu's name and history. When Din finds Ahsoka on Corvus, the story finally gives Grogu a name, and a past. Up to this point, we were calling him Baby Grogu, or Baby Yoda. Ahsoka reveals that Grogu was raised at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and survived Order 66. That changed how we understand him. He's not simply a mystery child with powers. He is a survivor of the same catastrophe that destroyed the Jedi Order. His silence and fear now carries more weight. Grogu has lived through trauma. He has hidden abilities to survive. And his attachment to Din is not just childish dependence. It is the bond of a child who has lost everything and finally feels safe with someone. Ahsoka refuses to train him because she senses his attachment and fear. Given her own history with Anakin Skywalker, she understands how dangerous attachment can become when it is mixed with power and loss. But she does not leave Din without hope. She sends him to Tython, where Grogu may reach out through the Force and choose his path. This matters because the season's question changes. At first, Din's mission was simply to deliver Grogu to the Jedi. Now, the story asks whether Grogu should leave at all. Din wants to do what is right for him, but the more he learns, the harder that choice becomes. The tragedy on Tython. On Tython, Grogu reaches out through the Force, but the moment that could lead him toward the Jedi also exposes him to Gideon. Gideon's forces attack. Din receives help from Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, but the fight still ends in disaster. The Razor Crest is destroyed, and Grogu is captured by dark troopers. This is one of Din's lowest points. He loses his ship, which was not just transportation, but his home. He loses Grogu, who has become the emotional center of his life, and he is left with only one mission: get the child back. Boba Fett's return also matters because it complicates the meaning of a Mandalorian identity. Boba is not part of Din's creed, but the armor belongs to him through his father, Jango. Din accepts this after seeing the chain code. Again, the show widens Din's understanding. The galaxy is larger than the version of Mandalore he was taught. To rescue Grogu, Din needs information. That leads him to Mayfield, a former Imperial sharpshooter. The mission with Mayfield forces Din into one of the most important personal compromises. To access an Imperial terminal, Din removes his helmet. He does not do it for pride. He does not do it because he has stopped caring about the creed. He does it because Grogu's life matters more. This is the moment where Din's identity begins to change in a visible way. The helmet is sacred to him, but love has introduced a high responsibility. The way taught him to protect foundlings. Now protecting his foundling requires him to bend the rules he thought defined him. That tension will shape the rest of the series. The coolest rescue and the goodbye. In the Season 2 finale, Din gathers allies and attacks Gideon's cruiser. The mission is direct: rescue Grogu, but the consequences become much bigger. Din fights Gideon and defeats him, winning the Darksaber in combat. He does not understand what this means politically, but Bo-Katan does. She wanted the Darksaber because it represents the right to lead Mandalore. Din wins it by accident. And because Mandalorian tradition says the weapon must be won in combat, he cannot simply hand it to her without creating a problem. This is important because Din's personal rescue mission accidentally places him at the center of Mandalorian politics. But before that conflict can unfold, the Dark Troopers return. They are too powerful. The heroes are trapped. Gideon has been defeated, but his machines are still coming. For a moment, it looks like Din's rescue has failed. Then Luke Skywalker arrives. Luke destroys the Dark Troopers and offers to train Grogu. This is the moment Din has been moving toward since the end of Season 1. His mission was to return Grogu to the Jedi. Now a Jedi has come. But the emotional meaning has changed. If Luke had arrived earlier, Din might have handed Grogu over as a completed duty. Now letting Grogu go feels like losing his child. Grogu hesitates. Din understands that he needs permission to leave. So Din removes his helmet, not because a machine requires it, but because Grogu needs to see his face. This is one of the defining moments of the series. Din breaks the rule at the center of his life so his child can know him before they say goodbye. Season 2 ends with Grogu leaving with Luke. It is a victory because Grogu is safe. It is a loss because Din is alone. And it proves how much Din has changed. The man who once delivered Grogu as for payment now loves him enough to let him go. Part 3. The Book of Boba Fett Bridge. Din without Grogu. The next essential part of Din and Grogu's story happens in the Book of Boba Fett. Din returns to bounty hunting, but without Grogu, the old life feels different. The work is still there, the armor is still there, the skill is still there. But the purpose is gone. This matters because Din's life before Grogu was built around duty without intimacy. After Grogu, that life no longer fits him. Din visits the armorer, who teaches him about the Darksaber. The weapon is heavy for him, not physically, but spiritually. He struggles to wield it because he is conflicted. He has the symbol of Mandalorian leadership, but he does not want to rule. He has the identity of a Mandalorian, but he has broken the helmet rule, and he has lost the child who changed him. When he admits that he removed his helmet, the armorer declares him an apostate. This gives Din a new external goal. He must bathe in the living waters beneath the mines of Mandalore to be redeemed. But beneath the religious goal is an emotional one. Din is trying to regain certainty. Grogu changed him, and now Din is trying to understand who he is without the simple structure he once had. Grogu's choice. While Din wrestles with his identity, Grogu trains with Luke Skywalker. For Grogu, this is the life he was supposedly meant to return to. He is with a Jedi. He is learning the Force. He is reconnecting with the path that began before Order 66. But Grogu's heart is divided. Luke senses that Grogu's attachment to Din is strong, and eventually presents him with a choice: continue Jedi training, or return to Din and accept the Beskar chainmail Din made for him. This choice is important because it gives Grogu agency. For most of the series, adults decide where Grogu should go. The client wants him, Gideon hunts him, Din protects him, Ahsoka refuses to train him, Luke offers him a path, but here, Grogu chooses for himself. He chooses Din. This does not mean the Jedi path means nothing to him. It means his bond with Din matters more at this point in his life. Grogu returns during the conflict on Tatooine, and Din and Grogu are reunited. This reunion resets the emotional center of the series before Season 3. Din may be an apostate. Grogu may have walked away from Jedi training, but they are together again. And now the story asks a new question. If Grogu is not simply going to become a traditional Jedi, and Din is no longer simply the Mandalorian he used to be, what are they becoming together? Part 4, Season 3, The Road to Mandalore. Season 3 begins with Din trying to redeem himself. On the surface, his goal is clear. Go to Mandalore and find the living waters, bathe in them, and restore his place among the children of the Watch, his covert. But underneath that plot is deeper conflict. Din wants to believe that identity can be repaired by completing the right ritual. He broke the rule, so he must perform the act that restores him. But the season slowly shows that the Mandalorian identity is more complicated than one rule, one sect, or one symbol. To reach Mandalore, Din turns to Bo-Katan. At this point, Bo-Katan is isolated and defeated. Her followers have abandoned her. She failed to reclaim the Darksaber. She sits in an empty castle, carrying the weight of Mandalore's fall. Bo-Katan's story is about a different kind of broken identity. Din feels unworthy because he broke his creed. Bo-Katan feels unworthy because she failed her people. Both of them are looking at Mandalore as a place of judgment. Din sees it as the site of redemption. Bo-Katan sees it as the site of failure. But when they reach Mandalore, they discover something neither fully expected. The planet is damaged, dangerous, and haunted, but it is not dead. That changes everything. The mines and the mythosaur. Din descends into the ruins of Mandalore, but is captured beneath the surface. Grogu escapes and goes to Bo-Katan for help. This is an important step for Grogu because he is no longer only being carried through danger. He acts, he seeks help, he saves Din by finding the person who can rescue him. Bo-Katan returns to Mandalore and saves Din. Then she enters the living waters with him. Din completes the ritual, but Bo-Katan sees something far more important beneath the surface. The mythical mythosaur. This vision changes Bo-Katan's arc. The mythosaur is not just a creature. It is a symbol of Mandalore's ancient past, its mythic identity, and its possible rebirth. Bo-Katan thought Mandalore was finished. She thought her people's story had become one of failure and exile. But the mythosaur suggests that something powerful still lives beneath the ruins. Bo-Katan does not immediately know what to do with that revelation. She does not turn it into a speech or a claim, but the vision begins restoring her belief in herself. And belief is what Mandalore has been missing. The New Republic and the Imperial shadow. While Din and Bo-Katan confront Mandalore's past, the season also shifts to Coruscant in the New Republic. Dr. Pershing, who once worked for Gideon, is trying to live under the New Republic's amnesty program. He wants to believe he can do good with his scientific knowledge, but Elia Kane, another former Imperial, manipulates him. This storyline matters because it shows the New Republic's weaknesses. The Empire did not survive only through starships and soldiers. It survived through people, systems, habits, and hidden loyalties. The New Republic wants to rehabilitate former Imperials, but it does not fully understand how deeply Imperial thinking can hide inside a new government. Elia Kane's betrayal reveals that Gideon's influence has not vanished. It has gone underground. This is the season's larger political warning. The New Republic may have won the war, but it is not fully equipped to recognize the next one forming in the shadows. That matters especially because Din and Grogu's next big screen story is officially set in the New Republic era. With Imperial warlords still scattered throughout the galaxy, and the New Republic enlisting Din and Grogu's help to protect the fragile peace. Grogu the Foundling. Season 3 also brings Grogu deeper into Mandalorian life. He trains with the covert, he participates in their customs, he begins to be treated not only as Din's child, but as a foundling of the Mandalorians. This is important because Grogu's identity has always been divided. He was a Jedi youngling, he is Force sensitive. He was trained by Luke, but he chose Din. The season does not erase his Jedi past. Instead, it adds another layer. A flashback reveals that during Order 66, Grogu was rescued from the Jedi Temple by Kelleran Beck. This memory matters because it connects Grogu's survival to the same theme that defines Din's life. Both Din and Grogu were children saved from violence. Both became foundlings. Both survived because someone chose to protect them when they were helpless. That parallel deepens their bond. Din is not only Grogu's protector because he cares about him. Din understands him. Even if Din does not know every detail about Grogu's past, their lives rhyme. They are both survivors adopted into a way of life after war took their first home. This is why Grogu becoming Mandalorian does not feel random. It is an extension of the foundling idea that has been present since Season 1. Bo-Katan walks both worlds. After the covert helps save Navarro from pirates, the Mandalorians gain something they have not had in a long time, a place in the open. For years, Din's covert survived by hiding. Their creed preserved them, but it also separated them from the wider galaxy and from other Mandalorians. The rescue of Navarro proves they can be protectors again, not just survivors. This is where the armorer begins to seek Bo-Katan differently. Bo-Katan has lived among Mandalorians who remove their helmet, and now she has been accepted by those who do not. She has walked both paths. Because of that, she may be the only person who can unite the scattered people of Mandalore. This matters because the season is not saying one Mandalorian tradition is completely right and the other is completely wrong. It is saying Mandalore cannot be restored through division. Din's covert preserved the creed. Bo-Katan's people preserved another part of the Mandalorian identity. Neither is alone. Bo-Katan's role is to bring them together. The Darksaber in leadership. The Darksaber becomes central again when Bo-Katan tries to reclaim her former fleet. At first, Axe Woves and the others do not accept her claim because she does not possess the weapon. For them, the Darksaber still symbolizes rightful leadership. Without it, Bo-Katan's authority feels incomplete. But Din resolves the matter in a way that reveals something important about him. He explains that when he was captured on Mandalore, Bo-Katan defeated the creature that had defeated him. By that logic, she earned the Darksaber through combat. Din does not cling to the weapon. He does not want to rule. He understands that Bo-Katan is the leader of Mandalore, the leader Mandalore needs, and he uses Mandalorian tradition to support her instead of himself. This is a major character moment because Din's humility protects the story from becoming about power he never wanted. He is not the chosen ruler of Mandalore. He is the man who recognizes the right leader and helps her rise. Bo-Katan accepting the Darksaber is not just about regaining a weapon. It is about accepting responsibility again. She once failed Mandalore. Now she has to lead its people back home. Gideon's return and the theft of Mandalore. The United Mandalorians return to Mandalore, hoping to reclaim their world. At first, this feels like the fulfillment of the season's promise. Different tribes stand together. Bo-Katan leads again. Din and Grogu are part of a people rather than a hidden pair, moving from crisis to crisis. But then, the return becomes a trap. Moff Gideon has built a secret Imperial base beneath Mandalore. This reveal is important because it reframes the planet's destruction. Mandalore was not only ruined world left behind by history, it has been occupied in secret, exploited by the very Imperial remnant that helped destroy it. Gideon's presence on Mandalore is thematically perfect because he represents stolen identity. He stole the Darksaber. He wanted Grogu's blood. He wears armor inspired by Mandalorians. He built up an army using pieces of other cultures and powers, not because he honors them, but because he wants to possess them. Gideon does not create, he extracts. He wants Mandalorian armor, Imperial control, and cloning technology, and Force sensitivity combined into one manufactured future under his command. This makes him the opposite of Din, Grogu, and Bo-Katan. Din protects a foundling, Grogu chooses family, Bo-Katan reunites a people. Gideon tries to take what others are and turn it into a weapon. This is why the final battle is not only about defeating Gideon, it is about Mandalore and taking it back from the logic of the Empire. Paz Vizsla's sacrifice. When Gideon's forces trap the Mandalorians, Paz Vizsla stays behind to hold the line. His sacrifice matters because it gives weight to the idea of unity. Paz has not always trusted Din or Bo-Katan easily. He comes from a proud tradition, and he carries the history of House Vizsla, the same lineage connected to the Darksaber. But in this moment, he does not fight for personal status. He fights so that others can escape. His death shows that reclaiming Mandalore is not symbolic or easy. It costs something. A people cannot be restored through speeches alone. They are restored through choices, sacrifice, and loyalty. Paz dies as a Mandalorian protecting Mandalorians. That makes his final stand one of the clearest expressions of the creed, the battle for Mandalore. In the finale, Din escapes captivity and moves through Gideon's base. With Grogu's help, Grogu is now inside IG-12, able to move and participate more directly. This could have been played only as comedy, but it also shows his development. Grogu is not the same helpless child from Season 1. He still needs protection, but he is learning to act, choose, and help. Din discovers Gideon's cloning project and destroys the clones before they can awaken. This is crucial because Gideon's plan is not merely military. He wants to reproduce himself with Force sensitivity. He wants to manufacture destiny. He wants the power of Grogu with Grogu's vulnerability, innocence, and personhood. And again, Gideon's evil is extraction. He wants the Force without faith, Mandalorian armor without Mandalorian honor, leadership without people, power without love. Din destroys the clones, rejecting the future Gideon is trying to build. Meanwhile, Bo-Katan leads the Mandalorians into battle. She fights Gideon with the Darksaber, but Gideon crushes it. At first, this seems devastating. The Darksaber has carried so much symbolic weight. It represented leadership, legitimacy, and Mandalore's fractured history. But its destruction becomes meaningful in a different way. If the Mandalorians fall apart because the weapon is gone, they were never truly united, but they do not fall apart. They keep fighting. That means their identity has become stronger than the symbol. Bo-Katan is not leader because she holds the Darksaber. She is a leader because her people choose to stand with her. As the base is destroyed, Grogu uses the Force to shield Din and Bo-Katan from the flames. This moment completes Grogu's arc across the series so far. The child Din once carried away from danger now protects his father, and the leader of Mandalore. He is still young, but he is no longer only the one being saved. He is becoming part of the saving. Gideon is defeated, the Imperial base is destroyed, and Mandalore is reclaimed. Mandalore reborn. After the battle, the Mandalorians relight the Great Forge. This is the true resolution of Season 3. Mandalore is not magically restored to what it was. The planet is still scarred. The people still carry trauma. The old divisions have not vanished because history is complicated. But the forge burning again means the culture has a future. For a people defined by armor, forging is more than craft. It is memory, identity, and continuity. Relighting the forge says that Mandalore is no longer only a graveyard. It can become a home again. Bo-Katan stands restored, not simply as a ruler, but as someone who has helped her people believe again. The armor's covert has come into the open. The scattered fleet has returned. The Mandalorians, who once argued over what counted as the way, now stand together on the same world. This is the season's answer to the question of the Mandalorian identity. Mandalore is not only a helmet rule. It is not a bloodline. It is not only the Darksaber. It is not only the planet. It is a living people held together by protection, memory, sacrifice, and choice. Din adopts Grogu. After Mandalore is reclaimed, Din asks for Grogu to formally be recognized as his apprentice. But because Grogu cannot yet speak the creed, Din adopts him as a son. Grogu becomes Din Grogu. This is the emotional resolution of the entire series so far. What began as a bounty hunt became a rescue mission. The rescue became a duty. The duty became a love. And now that love is recognized as family. Din's arc becomes full circle here. He was once a foundling taken in by Mandalore. After losing his family, now he becomes the father who takes in a foundling of his own. He does not replace Grogu's Jedi past. He gives Grogu another home. Grogu's arc also becomes clearer. He is not simply choosing between Jedi and Mandalorian. He is becoming shaped by both. His Force abilities remain part of him, but so does the creed of the people who adopted him. This is why the phrase, Clan of Two, matters. At first, Din and Grogu were alone because they had to run. Now they are a clan because they have chosen each other. The new status quo. By the end of Season 3, Din takes on a new role. He offers to work with the New Republic by hunting Imperial remnants. This gives him a practical mission that fits who he has become. He is still a warrior. He is still a bounty hunter in some sense. But now, his work has a clearer moral direction. He is no longer chasing targets, only for payment. He is helping clean up the remains of the Empire. Din and Grogu settle on Navarro in a small home given to them by Grief Karga. The image is peaceful, Din sitting outside while Grogu plays nearby, but the peace is not the same as an ending. It is a new beginning. The galaxy still has Imperial warlords, the New Republic is still fragile, and Din Grogu still has much to learn as Din Djarin's apprentice and son. That is where the series leaves them before their next story. Official Star Wars materials describes the Mandalorian and Grogu as following Din Djarin and his young apprentice Grogu during the New Republic era as Imperial warlords remain scattered and the New Republic works to protect the rebellion, what the rebellion fought for. Ending explained. By the end of The Mandalorian Season 3, every major part of the story has shifted into a new shape. Din Djarin is no longer just a lone bounty hunter. He is a father. He is still Mandalorian, but his understanding of the way has deepened. At the beginning, he believed identity was something preserved by never showing his face. By the end, he understands that the creed is also about protecting foundlings, honoring chosen family, and serving something larger than himself. Grogu is no longer simply the child. He is Din Grogu, a Mandalorian apprentice with a Jedi past. His story is not about choosing one identity and erasing the other. It is about becoming something new from both. Bo-Katan is no longer a failed claimant sitting in exile. She is the leader of a restored Mandalore, not because she possesses a weapon, but because she earns trust. The Darksaber's destruction proves that Mandalore's future cannot depend only on symbols. It must depend on people choosing unity. Moff Gideon is defeated because his way of seeing the galaxy is ultimately empty. He tries to steal power from everyone: Grogu, Mandalorians, the Empire, the Force itself. But stolen identity cannot build a future. It can only imitate it. That is why his defeat matters. The Empire's remnants want control without responsibility. Din Grogu and the Mandalorians survive by choosing responsibility, even when it costs them. The series begins with a transaction. A bounty hunter is paid to deliver a child, but the entire story grows out of Din's refusal to let that traction define the child's worth. That refusal changes Din. It saves Grogu. It brings Din into contact with Bo-Katan. It helps restore Mandalore, and it turns a hidden warrior and a hunted child into a family. At its deepest level, The Mandalorian is about what survives after a civilization is broken. The Empire thinks power survives. Gideon thinks control survives. The bounty world thinks reputation survives. But the series argues that what truly survives is care. A foundling survives because someone protects him. A creed survives because people live it with purpose. A planet survives because its people returns to it. And a family survives because two lost beings choose each other. Din Djarin and Din Grogu end the story not as a temporary partnership, but as a clan. Mandalore ends the story not as a ruin, but as a home again. And the galaxy remains unstable, but there is now one more father and son moving through it together, carrying the way forward into whatever comes next. That is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this newer format. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button, because I'm sure that there's more of these to come. And of course, if you really liked it, comment down below if it taught you something, if it really did make you feel prepared for the Mandalorian movie, or anything that you would like, your favorite part of the Mandalorian show. It's up to you. But thank you so much for being here, and so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.